You were not born uncertain. You were trained into hesitation the way a muscle is trained into weakness. Slowly, repeatedly, subtly. From the first time you were told to wait your turn, to be polite, to explain yourself, to make sure everyone else was comfortable before you moved. And now look around. Somewhere right now, someone less disciplined than you, less intelligent than you, less capable than you is advancing faster. They speak once and people listen. They enter a room and the temperature shifts. They take opportunities while you are still running simulations in your head. Not because they are special, not because they are chosen, but because they stopped asking for permission to exist at full volume. Let that sit with you. You were taught that confidence arrives after preparation, after validation, after the green light. But the world does not operate on fairness or readiness. It operates on presence, on control, on who moves first and who hesitates long enough to be erased. This is not a motivational speech. This is not encouragement. This is not comfort. This is a dismantling. Because if you are still waiting to feel confident, you have already surrendered ground to people who decided to move while afraid. Here is the truth most people never grasp. Confidence is not something you feel inside. It is something other people feel when you enter their field. It is not bravery in your chest. It is gravity around your body. When conversations pause when you arrive, when people lower their voices, when your silence feels heavier than their words, that is confidence. Not because you are loud, but because you are solid. You don't need to feel fearless. You need to make others feel your weight. And that begins with the first ruthless lesson most people avoid because it strips them naked. Presence is louder than words. Talking too much is not expression. It is confession. Every extra explanation reveals uncertainty. Every qualifier betrays a need to be approved. Every nervous laugh is a white flag waved before the battle begins. People who speak endlessly are not confident. They are trying to be believed. They are trying to convince. They are filling silence because silence exposes them. But silence is not emptiness. Silence is pressure. Think back to the last person you encountered who carried real authority. Not social media authority, not loud confidence, real control. Did they rush to explain themselves? Did they fill every gap with noise? No. They spoke sparingly. And when they stopped, the room waited. That was not an accident. That was dominance disguised as restraint. Silence creates weight. Scarcity makes value visible. When your words are rare, they are priced higher. When you speak once and stop, people replay what you said. When you explain endlessly, your message dissolves into noise. Confidence is not volume. It is calm that makes others uncomfortable. The person who can sit in tension without rushing to relieve it controls the room. The person who does not defend themselves the moment they are questioned signals that their position does not require permission. The person who speaks once and never repeats themselves communicates something primal. I am not here to persuade you. I am here to decide. This is where most people fail. They panic when silence appears. They rush to soften, to clarify, to reassure, and in doing so, they hand over control. Silence is not a void. It is a test. And whoever breaks it first loses leverage. When you begin to practice this, something subtle but powerful happens. People lean in. They watch you more closely. They begin to ask you questions instead of interrupting you. They attribute depth to you without you claiming it. Not because you demanded respect, but because restraint implies control. And control is magnetic. Here is the practice. In your next conversation, cut your words in half. Say what matters. Then stop. Do not add an explanation. Do not soften it with humor. Do not justify unless you are directly asked. End your sentence and let the silence do the rest. Watch how posture changes. Watch how attention sharpens. Watch how people begin to orbit instead of collide. That is your presence becoming louder than your mouth. There is a reason Machiavelli spoke of the fox and the lion. The fox understands traps. The lion terrifies wolves. Silence is the fox. Speech is the lion. Power is knowing when to be each. Fear chooses poorly. Discipline chooses precisely. When you rush to speak, you reveal fear. When you pause, you reveal command. And understand this deeply. Silence is not passivity. It is selection. You are selecting when your energy enters the field. You are choosing when your words are released, like a blade kept sheathed until the cut will matter. Most people speak to be seen. Powerful people speak to move reality. If this makes you uncomfortable, good. Discomfort is the signal that an old reflex is dying. The reflex to explain, to appease, to fill space. That reflex kept you safe once. It will keep you invisible now. Presence is not built by adding more. It is built by removing what weakens you. And this is only the beginning. The second lesson cuts deeper because it attacks the part of you that reacts before it thinks. Never react first. Your emotions are signals, not commands. Most people live as if every feeling requires immediate action. Anger means attack. Fear means retreat. Excitement means jump. And that is exactly why they are easy to control. Every instant reaction hands the steering wheel of your nervous system to someone else. They provoke, you respond. They press, you explain. They push, you break formation. Predictability is not honesty. Predictability is exposure. The moment someone knows how you react, they know how to move you. And once you can be moved, you can be managed. This is why manipulators love emotional people, not because emotions are bad, but because unregulated emotions leak patterns. Patterns create scripts, and scripts are easy to exploit. Control, on the other hand, is confusing. When someone expects you to explode and you remain still, they lose their footing. When they expect defense and receive silence, they begin to doubt themselves. Calm does something violence never can. It destabilizes. It removes the opponent's map. Picture this. A room is loud. Voices overlap. Energy is frantic. One person is reacting to everything, defending, justifying, escalating. Another person sits still, eyes steady, breath slow. They do not interrupt. They do not rush. They do not mirror the chaos. Instantly, without a word, gravity shifts. The still one becomes the axis. Everyone else begins to orbit. This is not emotional suppression. It is emotional delay. You feel the anger, but you don't release it. You notice the fear, but you don't obey it. You sense the urge to respond, and you pause. That pause is the entire game, because in that pause, you choose. You decide whether this moment deserves your energy, whether this person deserves access to your inner world, whether reacting serves your position or weakens it. Confidence is visible when your face does not mirror the room. Think of an argument. One person red-faced, gesturing, escalating. The other composed, voice even, posture relaxed. Who looks powerful? Who looks credible? The one who is unmoved. The one who is not dragged into emotional weather. The first person is burning fuel. The second is conserving it. The one who reacts first loses frame. The one who waits controls it. And once you understand this, you stop trying to win moments. You start winning positions. This leads to the third lesson, and it will cost you relationships that were never meant to survive your growth. Do not explain what has not been earned. People who respect you do not require justification. People who do not respect you will never accept it. Explanation is often begging disguised as logic. Think of how many times you have tried to make someone understand your decision. You laid out reasons, you gave context, you spoke carefully, and still, they resisted. Still, they questioned. Still, they treated your choice as negotiable. They were never confused. They were committed to misunderstanding. Some people do not want clarity. They want leverage. As long as you are explaining, you are on trial. And whoever puts you on trial holds power over you. Every justification teaches others that your boundaries are flexible. Every apology teaches them where to press next. Confident people move differently. They state once, then they move on. If asked respectfully, they may give a brief answer, but they do not perform. They do not audition for approval. They do not overeducate those who have not earned access. This is the shift from external validation to internal authority. When you stop explaining, something fascinating happens. Your words gain weight. People assume depth. They assume intent. They assume you know something they do not. And often, they are right. Because you know this. Your life is not a committee. Your boundaries are not proposals. Your decisions do not require consensus. You do not owe transparency to everyone. Access is a reward, not a right. The less you explain, the more people listen. The less you justify, the more others hesitate to challenge you. Silence after a decision communicates finality, and finality is deeply unsettling to those who are used to negotiating your will. This connects to the next layer. Control access to your inner world. Your plans are not public property. Your fears are not entertainment. Your next move is not a group discussion. Most people bleed power through oversharing. They announce goals before commitment. They reveal doubts before strength forms. They narrate their process in real time and then wonder why their momentum collapses. Every opinion enters. Every projection lands. Every doubt multiplies. But mystery creates respect. Notice the people you instinctively admire. Do they broadcast every struggle? Do they narrate every setback? Or do they move quietly, build privately, and reveal only when something is complete? That is not deception. That is strategy. When you show results instead of intentions, you appear inevitable. When you reveal outcomes instead of drafts, you appear competent. When your struggles remain private and your victories visible, you build a reputation that shields you. Ask yourself before you share anything important, am I sharing to connect or to be validated? One builds intimacy, the other leaks power. If you need approval to believe your plan is real, it is not ready to leave your mouth. Confidence grows in protected space. It reveals itself only when it can no longer be questioned. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Not everyone is strong enough to hold your ambition without poisoning it. Guard it. Let your outcomes introduce you. Let your results speak before your words ever do. Because power that is announced is often resisted. Power that arrives quietly is accepted as fact. And once you stop reacting, stop explaining, and stop oversharing, you begin to feel something unfamiliar. Space, focus, control. This is where dangerous confidence starts to form. The next lesson is where confidence stops being psychological and becomes structural, become difficult to replace. This is where most advice collapses because it tells you to be nice, agreeable, flexible. But niceness does not protect you. Usefulness does. You can be pleasant, loyal, easy to work with, endlessly accommodating, and still be overlooked, replaced, or dismissed the moment you become inconvenient. Kindness without competence is not virtue, it is compliance. Confidence becomes unshakable when it is no longer emotional, when it is factual. There is a difference between believing in yourself and knowing your value. Belief wavers. Evidence does not. When you walk into a room knowing you can solve a problem others cannot, you do not posture. You do not perform. You do not seek approval. You operate. And operation speaks louder than personality ever will. This is the shift most people never make. They chase confidence through mindset, affirmations, motivation. But real confidence is built through leverage, through skill, through becoming the person whose absence creates a problem. Ask yourself honestly, if you disappeared tomorrow, what would break? If the answer is nothing, your insecurity is rational. The solution is not louder self-talk. It is deeper competence. When you develop a rare ability, something that produces results consistently, your nervous system changes. You stop worrying about being liked. You stop over-explaining. You stop negotiating your worth. Because you know something simple and brutal. You are needed. That knowledge quiets the mind. People respect capability even when they dislike the person who carries it. But they replace agreeable people the moment agreement becomes inconvenient. This is why charm fades and skill compounds. One decorates, the other anchors. So stop trying to be irreplaceable through personality. Become irreplaceable through execution. Choose a domain. Master it. Go deeper than most are willing to go. Let your name become shorthand for that skill. Let your work set the standard instead of meeting it. This does not make you cold. It makes you grounded. Now comes a lesson that terrifies people because it threatens their social identity. Remove the need to be liked. The need for approval makes you predictable. Predictability makes you manageable. And manageable people are never respected. They are tolerated until they are no longer useful. Most people adjust their opinions based on who is present. They soften boundaries to avoid discomfort. They shrink to fit rooms that were never meant to hold them. They call this consideration. But it is self-abandonment. Here is the truth you must accept if you want power. Not everyone is supposed to like you. That is not a failure. That is mathematics. You could be generous, thoughtful, disciplined, talented, and someone will still resent you. Someone will still misinterpret you. Someone will still see your presence as a threat. Trying to neutralize that reality by becoming agreeable only ensures one thing: you will never be fully yourself. The moment you stop trying to be liked, something heavy settles into your posture. You stop performing. You stop editing. You stop bending your truth to avoid friction. And people feel it immediately. Detachment thickens your presence. Desperation repels. Self-containment attracts. When you no longer chase approval, you stop giving others power over your choices. You speak because it aligns with you, not because it will be applauded. You decide based on principle, not reaction. And yes, this will make some people uncomfortable. That discomfort is proof you have exited the role they assigned you. Ask yourself this question before every major choice. Would I still do this if no one clapped? If the answer is no, you are not choosing, you are performing. Performance is exhausting. Confidence is not. Those who matter will recognize your alignment. Those who do not were never meant to stay. Let them misunderstand you. Let them talk. Silence is cheaper than self-betrayal. Which brings us to the next cut. Reduce emotional waste. Your attention is currency. And most people are bankrupt because they spend it on everyone. They engage every conversation. They respond to every provocation. They stay in draining relationships out of fear of being alone or labeled cold. Some people drain focus. Some conversations slow growth. Some relationships keep you small. And every minute you give them is a minute stolen from your future. Confident people are ruthless with their energy, not cruel, precise. They do not entertain drama. They do not negotiate with chaos. They do not stay where they are tolerated instead of valued. They understand something most never learn. Attention given is power surrendered. Start asking better questions. Does this person add clarity or noise? Does this conversation sharpen me or scatter me? Does this relationship expand my life or exhaust it? If the answer is unclear, the answer is no. Let people go. Let conversations end. Let relationships fade without explanation. Not everything deserves closure. Not every connection is meant to last. On the other side of that boundary is space. Space to think. Space to build. Space to become dangerous in the quiet. Confidence is not built in crowded rooms. It is forged in focused solitude. When your energy stops leaking, it starts accumulating. And accumulated energy changes how you move, how you speak, how you decide. This is not about becoming isolated. It is about becoming deliberate. When you stop wasting emotion, stop chasing approval, stop relying on charm, and start building leverage, something irreversible begins to happen. You are no longer trying to be confident. You are becoming undeniable. And now comes the final lesson, the one that separates observers from operators. The next lesson is the one that destroys hesitation at its root. Move before you feel ready. Most people are waiting for a feeling that never arrives. They believe confidence comes first, then action follows. But that belief is a trap. Readiness is a myth invented by fear to delay exposure. You will never feel prepared. Not fully, not honestly. No amount of planning will remove uncertainty. No amount of thinking will eliminate risk. The fear does not disappear before the move. The move dissolves the fear. Action is the furnace where confidence is forged. Look closely at the people who are ahead of you. Not the ones who talk about potential, but the ones with results. Did they wait until they felt ready? Did they have clarity before they began? No, they moved while unsure. They started while afraid. They accepted imperfect conditions and learned inside the motion. Momentum taught them what thinking never could. Those who wait become spectators of their own lives. Every time you act while uncertain, something subtle happens inside you. Your nervous system updates. It learns that fear is not fatal, that discomfort does not equal collapse, that you can survive imperfection, that survival is the raw material of confidence, not belief, proof. This is why action compounds. Each movement adds evidence. Each risk survived hardens your frame. Each mistake processed expands your tolerance for pressure. And slowly, almost without noticing, you stop asking, "Can I?" and start assuming, "I will." The world belongs to those who move first, not because they are reckless, but because they understand a brutal truth. Clarity comes after commitment. You do not get certainty before the step. You get certainty because you stepped. Waiting feels responsible. It feels intelligent. It feels safe. But it is none of those things. Waiting is often disguised avoidance. It is fear wearing the costume of preparation. And fear, left unchallenged, grows teeth. Movement starves it. This is why overthinkers stagnate. They stay in their heads, refining plans that never touch reality. They mistake mental activity for progress. But no feedback enters a closed system. No growth happens in isolation from action. Movement creates information. Information creates adjustment. Adjustment creates power. Now understand this clearly. Moving before you feel ready does not mean acting impulsively. It means acting despite incomplete comfort. There is a difference. One is chaos. The other is courage under discipline. You take the step that is available, not the one that guarantees success. You initiate the conversation you have been avoiding. You start the project imperfectly. You apply before you feel qualified. You expose yourself to the edge of failure and refuse to retreat. And each time you do this, fear loses authority. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It is the memory of survival. This leads to the final recalibration of identity. You are not here to be liked. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are not here to explain yourself into respect. You are here to move with control. To speak with intention, to leave without guilt. Real confidence is quiet. It does not announce itself. It is felt in your pauses, your boundaries, and your exits. It is visible when you do not rush, when you do not beg, when you do not cling, when you walk away without needing the last word. When you stop performing, something profound shifts. You stop shrinking to fit rooms that never honored you. You stop negotiating for space that should have been yours by default. You become the person who does not talk about value because the room adjusts around it. Results replace explanations. Presence replaces persuasion. Self-respect replaces approval. This is not arrogance. Arrogance needs witnesses. This is sovereignty. And sovereignty is silent. The moment you choose action over hesitation, control over reaction, boundaries over approval, you step into a different category of person. Not louder, not flashier, heavier. And once you feel that weight, you cannot unfeel it. The version of you that waited for confidence will never arrive. But the version of you that moves despite fear is already here, waiting for you to step forward and let him take the wheel. This is not the end. This is the point of no return. What happens next is quiet, but irreversible. When you live this way, when you stop reacting, stop explaining, stop leaking your inner world, stop chasing approval, stop waiting for readiness. The world responds differently, not loudly, not immediately, but unmistakably. You begin to notice people hesitating around you, conversations shortening, questions becoming more careful. You are no longer handled casually. You are no longer assumed. You are felt. This is the final truth most never reach. Real confidence is not a performance. It is a withdrawal of need. The moment you no longer need to be liked, you become harder to control. The moment you no longer need to be understood, you become harder to manipulate. The moment you no longer need permission, you become dangerous in the most disciplined way possible. You stop advertising who you are. You let friction reveal it. Think of a mountain. It does not explain its height. It does not convince you of its presence. It simply stands, and everything around it adjusts. Weather changes, paths bend, shadows fall differently. That is what happens when a man becomes internally aligned. The environment recalibrates. You will notice something else too. Fewer people will have access to you, not because you pushed them away, but because your boundaries filtered them out. Some will call this distance. Some will call it arrogance. Some will call it change. Let them. Labels are tools people use to regain control when they feel it slipping. You no longer correct the story. You let it run without you. This is where many hesitate again. Guilt appears. The old conditioning whispers that you are becoming cold, selfish, unkind. But understand this clearly. You did not lose empathy. You lost availability. You did not become cruel. You became selective. You did not harden. You condensed. Pressure creates density. Density creates gravity. You are not here to be endlessly accessible. You are here to be effective. There is a difference between connection and consumption, between loyalty and entitlement, between presence and overexposure. You were never meant to be a public resource. You were meant to be a force with direction. As this sinks in, your behavior changes without effort. You speak less, but with more precision. You listen more, but react less. You walk away sooner, without bitterness. You stop fighting to be seen and start deciding where you belong. And here is the paradox. When you stop trying to command respect, you begin to receive it. When you stop demanding attention, it starts to find you. When you stop explaining your choices, people assume they are final. This is not manipulation. This is alignment. Confidence was never something you had to build artificially. It was something buried under habits of hesitation, under the reflex to appease, under the fear of friction. You did not need more motivation. You needed subtraction. Subtraction of noise. Subtraction of need. Subtraction of unnecessary reactions. And now, the last shift happens internally. You stop measuring yourself through other people's responses. Their approval no longer inflates you. Their disapproval no longer destabilizes you. You become self-referential, not arrogant, anchored. You approve yourself. From this place, choices feel cleaner. Decisions feel lighter, not because they are easy, but because they are yours. You no longer split yourself to keep peace. You no longer betray instinct to avoid discomfort. You choose alignment over applause. This is freedom most people never taste because it requires letting go of being liked. And once you experience it, you understand why silence feels powerful, why distance feels protective, why stillness feels dangerous in the best way. You are no longer rushing to prove anything. You are no longer shrinking to fit anything. You are no longer waiting for permission from a world that never planned to give it. You move. You decide. You withdraw when it strengthens you. You engage when it matters. That is confidence. Not loud, not aggressive, not theatrical. Quiet, controlled, unshakable. And now, look back at the version of you that hesitated. The one who waited. The one who explained, the one who reacted. That version did the best it could with what it knew, but it was trained for safety, not sovereignty. You are done outsourcing your power. From this moment forward, you choose your respect over their comfort, your direction over their approval, your silence over their noise. You do not need to announce this shift. Those who need to feel it already will. And those who don't were never meant to walk with you anyway. This is not a transformation you show. It is one you live. And now, everything comes down to a single choice. Not a dramatic one, not a loud one. A quiet decision made when no one is watching. The decision to stop living on pause, to stop negotiating with fear, to stop asking the world how you should move. Because here is the truth that changes everything once you see it clearly. Power does not arrive. It is claimed. No one is coming to hand you confidence. No one is waiting to validate your readiness. The world rewards those who move with intent, not those who wait to feel safe. And the longer you hesitate, the more space you give to people who never question themselves for a second. You have already spent enough time shrinking. Enough time explaining. Enough time watching less capable people take ground that should have been yours. That era is over. From here on, your silence has purpose. Your boundaries have weight. Your movement has direction. You no longer rush to be understood. You no longer bend to be accepted. You no longer bleed energy into rooms that offer nothing in return. You become selective, deliberate, harder to read, harder to replace. Not because you want to intimidate, but because you finally respect yourself enough to stop being careless with your presence. Understand this deeply. Real confidence is not how you feel when you wake up. It is how you behave when pressure arrives, when provoked, when misunderstood, when no one is clapping. It is choosing alignment over approval, control over reaction, movement over hesitation. And once you live from that place, something irreversible happens. You stop performing life and start commanding it, not over others, but over yourself. That is the only dominance that lasts. So don't wait, don't announce, don't explain. Just move. The world will adjust.